Welcome to the Altered Call podcast. Today I want to discuss unity and generosity. How would God have us treat them? My name is Pillischafske. I believe that God's nature can be experienced. I believe in hibernation, and I believe that you were uniquely created to reflect God's glory in the world. Today I want to address a cancer that is affecting our society at every level. You are guilty of this. I am guilty of this, and probably multiple times over in different contexts. My goal here isn't to lecture, but to draw attention to the problem as best I can, and then hope that we can all start to see it for what it really is. Here is the controversial truth that I want to explore today. God is not on your side. I promise to explain this in detail, but I want you to sit with that idea for a minute. God is not on your side. He never was. He never will be. I've had this idea stuck in my head ever since I read the verse Joshua 5:14, but I haven't fully known what to do with it. The book of Joshua picks up in the events following the Exodus from Egypt. After wandering for 40 years, the Israelites are finally crossing over into the Promised Land. They have entered a new territory filled with excitement and danger. They've been promised this land by God, but for now they are surrounded by enemies on all sides. Then Joshua runs into a stranger and has the following exchange. Joshua 5:13-15. Once when Joshua was by Jericho, he looked up and saw a man standing before him with a drawn sword in his hand. Joshua went to him and said to him, "Are you one of us or one of our adversaries?" He replied, "Neither, but as commander of the army of the Lord I have now come." And Joshua fell on his face in the earth and worshipped. And he said to him, "What do you command your servant, my lord?" The commander of the army of the Lord said to Joshua, "Remove your sandals from your feet, for the place where you stand is holy." And Joshua did so. I've never noticed this verse before, and I'm not sure why, but that single word answer haunts me now. Humans like to belong. We like to be a part of something bigger than ourselves, to be understood, appreciated, or included. It can be refreshing to engage with people that claim similar beliefs. It is reassuring to know that we are not alone in the world or the only person to have come to our various conclusions. For this reason, we seek out people like us, and we favor them more highly than those that do not. Not for malicious reasons, but for practical ones. These are our people. They make us feel good. They make us feel safe, loved, accepted. We apply to them a maximum level of generosity. We can easily overlook minor failings in favor of perceived unity. After all, we have decided that they are like us, and ultimately, we like us. We think of ourselves as good, or at least not bad. So how bad could they possibly be? After all, they subscribe to us, which is nothing if not an extrapolation of me. On the other hand, they are not like us. Never mind why, but it seems obvious. They are not like us. They are not like me, at least not in the ways that I value me. You see, they hold different beliefs, value different things, hold different perspectives. Maybe not entirely, but enough that we know that they cannot be trusted. They are difficult to deal with, to understand, to accept. Instead of applying maximum generosity in an attempt to draw them closer, we will apply no generosity, or even negative generosity, because they need to be pushed away. Every action that they take must be scrutinized, must be picked apart for any perceived failing. It must be found to be wrong, or at least be attributed to wrong motive. You see, they are not like us, and they do not like us. So for our own protection, we also must not like them. We must take every opportunity to demonstrate how different we are, such that the line will never become confused, and we must keep their ideas away from us, and especially from our children. Again, it is simply practical. You see, in order for our beliefs to be right, their beliefs must be wrong. Here is my question. Who told you that your beliefs are correct? I'll give you a hint. It wasn't God. You see, God is infinite, so our understanding of Him can never be fully correct, or even mostly correct. This isn't to say that we can know nothing of God or His nature. But we must always be aware that the quantity of things that we don't know about him is itself infinite, and as such will always outweigh what we do know. Even the Israelites, who were a specifically named and blessed people, didn't have God on their side. The commander of the armies of God, the same one that went on to help them take the city of Jericho, still wasn't able to commit to them because he knew that he served something far greater. Instead, he rightly chose to say neither, keeping his allegiance only to God himself, and then commanded Joshua to take off his sandals. This gave Joshua a new perspective on what was important. Not us versus them, but holy versus unholy. Alignment with God himself, or defiance of God. This simple answer, paired with a pointed redirection of his attention, served both to refocus Joshua and to acknowledge that the arbitrary distinctions that we draw are meaningless in comparison. God doesn't care who is on your team. He doesn't bother himself with trying to evaluate which of the infinite subsets of humans are more or less correct, because he doesn't view us as the center of the world. He doesn't care what you believe, what your friends believe, or how any of you compare to anyone else. Instead, he gives us the opportunity to be on his team. We are not driving the ship. We are not correct in our understanding of the world. We are not responsible for properly evaluating the hearts and motivations of others. All of those things belong to God. He knows what is right. He knows how he lovingly created each and every one of us, and he will ultimately decide who has best lived out his truths. We need to stop pretending that we know what is right and wrong. We don't. We need to stop overvaluing our friends and undervaluing our perceived enemies. We need to live out our lives with a more open-handed understanding of our beliefs, relying on God's redemptive nature instead of our severely limited perceptions. When we pull our friends close and push our enemies away, the gap looks much bigger than it is. And that is precisely why we do it. We all get a little dopamine hit when we perceive ourselves to be superior. By choosing only to be friends with people that look and act like us, we are not bringing glory to God. We are simply making an idol of ourselves. We are taking the place of God, and not subtly. If what we believe is correct, if the way that we live is correct, if the priorities that we place are correct and nothing else is, then in our newfound perfection, we have become God. Alternatively, we can admit what we are. We can take a hard look in the mirror and rightly understand that we are idiots, our friends are idiots, and that one big pile of idiots in agreement doesn't make us right. Instead of clinging to our limited and weak beliefs, praying that our correctness will be enough to get us into heaven, we can admit that we simply do not know, that our enemies also do not know, and that maybe, at least in that sense, we can find some common ground. By holding our beliefs with an open hand, by allowing them to be challenged and explored, we might find that our enemies have something to contribute to the conversation, that maybe they aren't quite as hopeless as we once assumed, or at least acknowledge that we are equally hopeless in relation, not to each other, but to a perfect standard of which none of us are worthy. Jesus told us to love our enemies, but most often we refuse to even see them as human. Now, I don't know what he meant when he told us this, ultimately something unbearably impossible, I'm sure, but I do know that we cannot love someone that we refuse to understand, that we refuse to take seriously, or that we fail to see as worthy of being made in our Creator's image. Our Creator's image. Our is a better word. I'm writing this episode because the other day the Holy Spirit convicted me to only ever speak of people in such a way that I always include myself. I was listening to a podcast where two Christians were debating the morality of going back in time and killing Hitler before he could commit his many atrocities. Now, obviously Hitler is the ultimate them. The one thing that everyone seems to agree on is that he for sure is not included in us. In fact, probably the only person that wants Hitler on their team is God himself. Not the version that killed millions of innocent people, but the one that was lovingly redeemed before those events could take place. You see, unlike us, God sees the good in all people. This isn't to say that he ignores the evil, but he knows the best that each of us is called into, and he hopes desperately for our redemption to him. I honestly don't remember the conclusion that the two Christian theologians came to, but I don't really care, because I think that they were asking the wrong question. As Christians, we are not meant to simply stand against the decay of our culture, to keep the evil from advancing in perpetuity. We are called to take proactive and redemptive action, advancing the good as best we can or easing the cause of those that do. Instead of asking, would it be okay to kill Hitler, we should be asking what could have been done to redeem him, or what will it take to preemptively redeem the next version of him. We want to believe that people like him are irredeemable, because it gets us off the hook. You see, Hitler was just evil. There's nothing that could have been done other than killing him first. If this is the line, then we don't have to bother with attempting to make anything better. We don't have to face the harsh reality that he is in many ways the same as us, that the same terrible beliefs that he held and that the same terrible actions that he took are things that we too would be capable of if circumstances and experiences were more similar. Lies can feel good in the short term, but ultimately they must be propped up in order to survive. And luckily for us, the market is filled with products and services that are designed to do exactly that. If you want to be mad at your enemies, to revel in their failures and defeat, then there are people who will sell that opportunity to you. It will only cost a small fee and as much of your attention as you're willing to give. If you want to celebrate the victories of the us, this too will be brought to your eyes to feast upon. Better yet, why not combine the two such that you can feel good about yourself, harshly judge those with whom you disagree, and affirm that millions of others are indulging in the same self-destructive process? After all, what feels better than your team winning? How about being on the right team? How about instead of the petty nonsense that we overindulge in, we actually attempt to be on God's team? We view our neighbor, regardless of their beliefs, as valuable, and we stop thinking about ourselves long enough to listen to what God would actually have us do. Our perceptions of God are wrong. Our perceptions of ourselves and of others are wrong. And by holding tightly to these ideas simultaneously, we risk ending up on the wrong team. A team centered around the self and in outright defiance of the God that is calmly and quietly waiting for us to realize that what actually matters is our collective relationship to Him. Not our perception of Him, but our devotion to and genuine pursuit of Him. On that journey, feel free to take whoever you like. But if all of those people believe exactly what you believe, then please know that your coalition, no matter how large it may be, is likely worshiping something else. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Altered Call Podcast. Feel free to like and subscribe if you're finding value exploring these ideas. You can reach me by email using alex@alteredcall.com, and you can visit the website for additional information.